Welcome to the Provost podcast at Siena Heights University, your source for academic highlights, faculty and student spotlights, and the news from around campus. Join Dr. Gina Rossetti and her guests as they explore the stories that make Siena Heights a community of excellence and growth.
Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be talking about our online programs at Siena Heights, known collectively as SHU Global. The demand for online learning continues to grow, with students increasingly seeking flexible and accessible learning options. Here to tell us more about all of our nationally ranked SHU Global programs is Tony Farina, Interim Dean for Online and Continuing Education. He began full-time as part of the College of Professional Studies here at Siena Heights in 2014. Prior to his time at SHU, Tony worked at several colleges across Michigan. He earned his undergraduate degree in English and Women's Studies from Albion College, a Master's of Education from Spring Arbor University, and an MFA in Creative Writing from Naropa University. The third book in the Austen Chronicles, his young adult book series, will be published in October. Welcome, Tony.
Hello. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. So excited. And I wonder if we could start with some myth busting about online learning. I think sometimes when we get into that space, we're reminded of Zoom school from the pandemic.
Yeah.
So for our listeners, how is SHU Global different from Zoom school?
That is a great question. Historically, as a little history lesson, we'll get in our Wayback Machine. So Siena Heights has been actually doing online, totally online, since 2005, because we had a really robust, extension centers around the state, and so since the early 90s or late 90s, and so then in 2005 we started totally online programs as degree completion. And we were very clear that we were very intentional from the beginning that this was going to be robust.
Right.
Students were clamoring for accelerated. Accelerated doesn't mean just fast. It means you're doing the same amount of work and half the time.
Right.
But it also needs to be, like, how do you get that robustness? That's always the question. How do you get that? So by going asynchronous and creating essentially a flipped classroom, a lot of people may have heard of that flipped classroom model that some elementary school teachers use, where they'll send, the kids now have iPads and they send the lecture home. And then they do the work in class. So we thought, well, we can package that in the online space. So Siena Heights Online has traditionally been an asynchronous program. So the students log in, the entire course is open to them right from the beginning. They see a week before the course opens, they already see what their final assignment is. They can work at their own pace. And then they have really robust, in-depth offline discussions, offline air quotes, in that they're not speaking like you and I are speaking now.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and so that then allows us to really get into the learning, spend weeks on a subject instead of, oh, well, this is the week I'm going to teach you APA.
Sure.
Pay attention. And if you miss that day, guess you're going to have to read the book. They can go back and watch the lecture over and over. So that is the number one thing that I think people need to understand, that in an asynchronous environment, the material is always there. You can always go back to it, whereas with Zoom school, right? If you had better internet connection and the professor's giving you really good information, you missed it.
Right.
This is not that. And so I think that's the most egregious misunderstanding, I would say, is that people are like, oh, online school is just somebody's in his pajamas talking to me.
Right.
That's not it at all.
And we're looking at ceiling fans.
Correct. There's no, right, if there is, that's probably part of the lecture. It's probably designed. Yeah.
And so we have some brag points about where we rank in the state and across the country.
We do, yes. Historically, we have, Central Michigan is, everybody's heard of them, obviously, but we consistently beat them. They're our biggest competitor in the state, and we are consistently the number one online school in the state. Nationally, from U.S. News & World Report, we've been nationally ranked. We get the badge from them, meaning we're, oftentimes higher than that, but you get the badge and you're in the top 50 in the country, and you're thinking there's thousands and thousands of schools, and we're up there. And then regionally, we're always one of the best. Catholic, we're always either one or two. So yeah, it's no joke because we've taken it very seriously. Yeah.
And I want to pick up on that point. When we think about online education, we often think of public secular institutions, but we are different. We are neither of those. Can you speak a little about how our uniqueness as a Dominican Catholic institution in this online space sets us apart?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think if you look at just Siena Heights, not if you don't look at the 4 pillars, which of course are the basis for what we're doing here, but if the 4 pillars come to life, right, in the online space, without a doubt. But when you think of our specific mission, purposeful, competent, ethical, respecting the dignity of all, in the online space, when you have that intentionality, you're like, what does the student need? They're not a number, they're a name. We're gonna make sure that they are seen, that they are heard, that we're gonna help them in any way, shape, or form. With that intentionality, our course sizes, we cap at 20. Sometimes if it's a 15-week online, we will go to 25, but we keep those online courses at 20. I know people who've taken online courses at some of the big schools, 40, 50, 70 people in there. That, how are they even engaging? They don't even know who their fellow classmates are. I mean, they're getting really in-depth relationships that last really intense conversations that they're having over weeks and weeks throughout these online things. So that's what really sets us apart, is that we're seeing the student just like we do on campus.
Right.
Even though you may not see your instructor's face, they see you because you get to shine.
And how do we infuse and integrate the mission across our SHU Global classes?
Oh, well, that's an excellent question. So for years and years, ever since I've been here, students have either taken they've taken 2 liberal arts studies courses that are a requirement. So when you think about a degree completer, a student has to the wonky term is residency, and you're like, how do you get residency if you live in Kansas and your school's in Michigan? That means you're taking 30 of your credits at that university for them to be able to grant you a degree. Part of the requirement at Siena is that you're going to take at least these 2 LAS courses, and whatever formation they're in, 301 or 330. Those courses have specific Dominican-based requirements in there. You're going to write about them. They're integrated there. But regardless of your program, whatever you're taking, if you're taking the professional communications management or healthcare management or psychology, whatever you're taking, those things are part of who we are. Every time the student picks up the syllabus, it's going to mention that we're a Dominican Catholic institution. We're going to, like, when you look at our late policies, when you look at our, how are we going to help you? What are the services we offer? All of those things are just, so they're infused in the learning, specifically in a few courses. They're part of the structure of the courses, the way a psychology professor is going to set up the course, making sure they have student learning services, things of those nature. Even though you're not here, we're seeing you. So it's just, even if it doesn't say, this is a specific Dominican assignment in your healthcare management. Right. But our healthcare management learning outcomes are designed with the Dominican ideals in mind. So even if it doesn't say it, our healthcare management learning outcomes are about seeing the whole person, treating them with dignity, making sure they have the proper care, making sure XYZ happens that are about the person. So that is just, all of our outcomes were built with the Dominican principles in mind. And so it's just there.
That's fantastic. And any memorable assignments in classes that you've taught where you had the chance to see students really come into a better understanding of Siena Heights in terms of that charism and mission?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, and especially in the LAS courses, you see it a lot because they work on it. But when I started to teach some of the 15-week courses to our on-campus students, when that started to happen, that was the most fun thing. I would have students. The 141 class was about like your community, and that's obviously one of our pillars. Those courses were designed with that in mind. So that was the whole focus, and they had to do a final project on like building the perfect community in the Dominican image. And so it would be great because a lot of our students, they say, oh, well, I knew we were Catholic, but they have a vision of what they think that means. In the world writ large, they hear Catholic, they think Catholic college is Notre Dame. Right. It's Boston College. It's Butler. Yes, all those are Catholic schools, you're right, but there's us, and it's different. The Dominican schools are different. People don't really even realize that Providence is a Dominican school because they don't see it that way. And so what the cool thing is I'll have students say, well, I knew it was a Catholic school. I thought it was that, and now that I've studied this, and I've really thought about that community piece, and you're asking me to engage what I want to do in my community into my work. So I had one student actually use the smart board for her final assignment. She set it up and recorded herself, and she drew everything as she's telling the story. So she came in here, she used all this equipment, and she drew things, and she's like drawing campus and drawing the mother house and what it was like to meet Sister Mary, and all these, when Sister Mary visited their FYE course. And to just see her say, like, I'm here to be a biologist. I want to go on to be a doctor. But this, understanding that I'm part of a community here, a community of learners, means that when I go on and be a doctor, I'm going to bring that compassion and everything. And she had said specifically, if I hadn't thought about what community meant from the Dominican perspective, community just meant my neighborhood.
That's right.
And now it means way more than just my neighborhood.
It's the world.
Yeah, and I bring that with me. And our Dominican learners bring that with them wherever they go. And that is the coolest thing, right? When you think about, St. Catherine and you light the torch, well, that's what they do. Our students are taking that out there, and the courses that we have, because it's built into our outcomes and it's built into our assignments, and we talk about it, and we're unapologetic about it. We just say, hey, let's talk about this. And the cool thing is, a lot of times we'll actually have them do what Aquinas would do and argue about it. Like, it doesn't have to just be the Dominican way is the way. We're like, we're showing you the Dominican way, but here's these other ways, because that's what the sisters do, right? The Dominican way is all about just debate. So we really teach them how to be respectful in this time when people maybe are shouting, we talk.
Right. And it's the disputed question,
Right.
but to engage in it and not to be argumentative.
Right. To not say my point and wait till you're done talking.
Right.
Yeah, let's engage. And because we root that in our courses and we design our online discussions in that way, we require students. You have to respond. Like my rubric specifically says thorough and thoughtful responses.
Right.
It can't just be, great, Gina, or I think you're wrong. Okay, I respectfully disagree with you, Dr. Rossetti, for these reasons, and here's some evidence, and you can come back and go, oh, Tony, that's an excellent point. I still disagree for these reasons. That's the Dominican way. And I think it's so important that we're sending scholars out into the world as graduates who know how to be respectful, respectfully disagree, because that is a skill we're losing.
That's right. And so what are some of the programs in SHU Global?
Sure. So historically, as a degree completion, we did a lot of business programs. We have the the BBA, Bachelor's of Business Administration, which is what it sounds like. You're gonna do a lot of marketing, a lot of management. We do have a management and marketing standalone degree. We also have an accounting degree, where the BBA is kind of a hybrid of those things, right?
Sure.
You're like a Swiss Army knife of business, which is a great degree, right? If you're not sure, and that is a great degree for you to go on to your MBA, which is also part of our graduate SHU Global. So the BBA is a great transfer to an MBA, which then affords you other things. We have healthcare management, as I mentioned, which is, if you're going to work in a hospital, it teaches you how to do accounting, how to do the paperwork, all of the HIPAA stuff that is really a headache, but they learn it, which is important. Professional communications management, which in this day and age when everybody's online, saying the wrong thing, it would be really good if they learned how to communicate professionally, both verbally and in writing. We have information technology management. And I think probably one of my favorites is the public service administrator. We take a lot of former firefighters and police officers who've done their 30 years, but who don't necessarily want to leave the service. Maybe they want to move to a desk job. Maybe they want to become trainers. They can come to us and learn that. Now they can become teachers at the fire school and teachers at the police academy. So those have been very traditional. We have the Bachelor's of Applied Science inverted degree, which is really exciting, because what that allows us to do is to take something that we don't teach.
Sure.
That is so the terminal for that is an associate's degree. So like Surg Tech is a great example.
Right.
You're a surgical technologist, there's no degree higher than associates. But if that person wants to teach Surg Tech, or that person wants to go on and maybe go to nursing school, they need a bachelor's degree first. So they can come to us, and we take their credits, and it's inverted. We're not teaching them how to be surgical technologists, but we're giving them those skills that we're talking about, those critical liberal arts, Dominican, Catholic education skills. So now they have a bachelor's degree in applied science. And so that's our biggest one in the online space, because we can take in what you have, give you this amazing degree that really is a pathway for grad school.
So if I'm listening to our conversation and I'm debating about going back to school, why should I pick SHU Global?
Oh, geez. Well, because we're gonna see what you have, right? So maybe here's the really cool thing that we can do. This is really exciting. So let's say you're the surgical technologist and you have your 60 credit, or some schools do Surg Tech as a 45 degree.
Sure.
So it's not even a full associate's degree. You're like, oh, that's going to be so many credits to get to 120. We can give you work experience credit. We give you college credit for work experience. And so if you've been a Surg Tech for this many years, we can give you this many applied science credits. Now you're still going to take your liberal arts, you're still going to take your philosophy and religious studies, the things that make us us. but you may be closer than you think.
Sure.
So SHU Global can meet you where you are, right, at whatever that is, and we can get you where you deserve to be. So we are really, and it's not even creative. It's a thing that our accrediting body does. It's just work. And because that's our mission, we do the work. A lot of schools are like, it's a lot of work to review your portfolio. We want to review your portfolio.
Right.
We want you to show us the work that you've done. We want to look at your degree. One of the other cool things that people may not even think about is if your work, wherever you are, gave you a certification. They're like, oh, go get a certification in, green energy. Go get a certification in biodiesel. You think that's great. I have this certification. We can give you credit for that.
That's terrific.
And that is really great because there's people who maybe have 10 of those certifications. That could translate into maybe 15 or 30 credits. We don't know. We have to evaluate it. But that gets you closer. So you may say, I only have 45 credits of undergrad or 15 credits of undergrad. But once we look at your work experience and some of this other education that you've done, we may say, oh no, actually you've got 80.
Right.
Now you're a year away from a bachelor's degree. So coming to SHU Global, we see you as a whole person. We don't just look at your of course, we want you to send us your transcripts, but we see you.
Right.
You are not your transcripts.
And really taking in an appreciation of what their story is.
Oh, yeah. And that's so important. And that's where that work experience comes into play. Veterans, if you are a vet and you have, that's the cool thing about if you're a vet, you could be 40 years old and retired.
Right.
Right? You've done your 20 years and you're like, what am I going to do now? What am I going to do? Let's look at your work experience. Because, and if you've been in the Army or Navy, they've trained you to do a lot of things. Let us give you credits for that. So we could maybe start you at 70 or up to 90 for military folks. So let's get you there. One of the other cool things that we do as part of you're like, well, I really want to do this now. A bachelor's is great, but I need my master's for whatever reason. We now have a grad pathway where we can offer you 9 credits of undergraduate credit that count towards a master's degree in leadership or an MBA. So again, if you're in that position where you're like, this is sort of what I need because I want to teach, or this is what my boss would like me to do, but it's so long, we're going to save you 3, that's 3 courses plus. When we give 25% off the price for our alumni, for our grad school. So that's a double reason to come. So we see you. We know you're a working adult. We know your time is valuable. And we also know your education is valuable. So we want to be part of your story, and we can just make your story, bigger and better and whatever you want it to be.
That's terrific. And we don't sit still. So what are some of the exciting programs kind of coming down the pathway? Yeah,
this is really exciting. So these are the things we've been successful in, but we have really doubled down. And so starting in this fall, people could take psychology, and that could be, they could come to us with 5 credits or 90 credits. That's the cool thing that we're really expanding to. Our degree completion, we're adding more programs. So psychology, religious studies, we're having conversations about sports management. We have a great partnership with another school for cybersecurity.
Yes.
So these are new programs that you can come to us. So you could start at 0 and get those with us totally online, or we can look at your credits and we can transfer those in. And so we're constantly building and evolving. And the great thing is there's new programs in the pipeline. So every day we're thinking, what's the next thing? We're always having conversations like religious studies. Right. People don't think about that. It's like, especially if you want to be a scholar, we now have that. So you can come to us with 0 credits and take a total religious studies degree online, or you can transfer in. Again, maybe you went to seminary, right? There's not a lot of, people don't think of that. Well, we'll take your seminary credit. Now you're going to get a religious studies degree. Now you can teach at the seminary because we have given you that opportunity. So we're constantly expanding, and I do think it gives us that opportunity to see what they need. And I've been in conversations with a lot of folks. We can build partnerships. We're having a conversation about criminal justice.
That's great.
Exercise science, I think, is going to be really exciting. Sports management is going to be really exciting. Those are close. I would say watch this space because I wouldn't be surprised how quickly those will be available because we're close. We've developed a really great process for getting our courses online quickly but with high quality because we are a Quality Matters institution, which is nationally recognized. And so when you come to us, if you're like, oh, they put that online really quickly, I promise you, everybody, just because it's suddenly online, it's been here for years. We're just now putting it in a different modality. So it's the same material in a new way. And that is, so if you see a new program at Siena Heights as part of Global, you can be sure it's been fully vetted, HLC accredited, and now Quality Matters stamped.
That's right.
Yeah.
Excellent. And so, we also focus on upskilling students. So could you talk a little bit about the skills marketplace with Acadium?
Yeah. So one of our partners, they're called Acadium. They're a network where we are allowed to share courses. We can put courses in that other schools can take, and we're working on building certificates that we put out that other schools will take. And then we have the skills marketplace where someone could come in. And so if an employer is like, oh, I really need you to learn this computer language, and instead of enrolling in a college, whatever, you can come to us. Right. You can take that. It's a flat rate. It's some of it is self-paced. Some of it is going to be based. That's more competency based, and some of it will have an instructor, and it will be like you started on Monday and it ends on Friday or whatever. But a lot of that is sort of self-paced. You get that certification. Now you can do the thing, and then we can stack those, and then now you've got a new certification. While those skills marketplace are non-credit. We can then later, if you want to come back, we can evaluate them and give you credit because we do that. I think my favorite thing that's in the skills marketplace is we actually have an entire certification for a teacher's aide. Oh, and what's exciting about that is we know there's a teacher shortage around the country, but in Michigan in particular, Siena Heights has partnered with the state of Michigan for a program called Talent Together. And what that is if you are a student who commits to being a teacher, the state of Michigan will pay your tuition.
Right.
The trick is you have to be working in a school or have a pathway to a school. So we have this. You can be a teacher's aide. So you get that's your way to get in. So you come to us. It's a few $1,000s to get that teacher's aide. We're actually if you're going to use part of Talent Together, we've even got a discount code for you. We'll give you 10% off. Then you go to Talent Together, and now you're a teacher's aide. Then you apply through them. Then they send you back through us. We'll accept the credit for that teacher's aide. And now you're going to become a full certified teacher, totally online through Siena Heights at no cost to you. The state of Michigan is covering it. So that's really exciting. That is such a small investment out of you for a guaranteed career. Right. And Talent Together is great because not only do they, I don't even know, it's like magic. Not only do they give you the teacher certification at the end, they're actually pay you for your student teaching, where most students are student teaching at that's just free. Nope, they're going to give you a stipend while you're student teaching. So it's really an amazing program, and we are a big partner with them. And so that, to me, that skills marketplace. But we have other things too. We have mini cyber defense certs, so you could just get a quick one for work and then get another one. The next thing you know, you come to us, and we've got our cybersecurity degree. So we have these great upskills that will then can lead to degrees if you want them, and if you don't, it's just going to get you that raise at work that you're looking for. Yeah.
And when we think about adult learners, one of the images that always stays with me is at commencement, and the graduate crosses the stage, and you hear a small child say, "Yay, mommy!"
It's the best.
What are some of the "Yay, mommy," "Yay, dad" stories that have really inspired you as someone in SHU Global?
Yeah, well, I can think of quite a few. The one from last year, which was maybe the coolest thing ever, was it was just adorable. There was a little girl who was pacing up in the front watching the band, but her dad was kind of watching her because her mom was part of the graduating class, and she was dressed in her own regalia. Oh. They made it was adorable. And then the mom came down and she screams and they hugged, and it was, I mean, you would have to have a heart of stone to not break in half at that. It was adorable. That's great. One of the things that I have loved in my life is to see parents and children graduate together. SHU Global has afforded students to do that. Sometimes they're both getting associate or getting bachelor's at the same time. Sometimes one's getting a master's while the other one's getting a bachelor's. Yes. And that is, I've actually seen that where the daughter was getting the master's, and her mom, so inspired by her, as she was a double saint. She got her CPA, she got her undergraduate degree from us, and then went and got her MA from us, her MBA. Her mom was like, I'm going back to school.
Exactly.
So her mom got her BA the same day that her daughter got her MA. And that was, that is just great. That is such a cool thing. And to see after, one of the great things about graduation is you walk out, the faculty kind of does a tunnel and the graduates come through. And then they wait around and they want to talk to you. And to have these students come up to us with their families, with their kids, and say, and like we've never met in real life.
Right.
And that is just glorious to me. And I think that is one of those, the thing about adult learners is they are an inspiration. That they are really, truly inspiring their kids, or the kids are inspiring their parents or their grandparents.
Right.
The oldest student I've had was in his 90s.
That's wonderful.
It was great. He was in a class with that particular Comp 2 class. I actually had a dual enrolled student in that class. So 16 and 90.
Right.
What a treat that was. So those are some of the amazing experiences, because when you think about adult learners, they're at all different stages of their life. Yeah, it's so fun.
And that's another myth buster, the sense that you can't get high touch. And it sounds like it's all high touch.
It is all high touch because, so it's our mission, obviously, so we're going to do it. But even if, but there is also a thing called regular and substantive interaction.
Sure.
And so that is part of the Department of Education's Title IV guidance, is they want to make sure you're not a correspondence school.
Right.
Which, in the day, correspondence schools were a thing. I'm sure there's still some. That's different. We're not that. We're an engaging school. So we require that every faculty member have 2 touch points with their students every week.
Sure.
Now, regular means always at the same time. You can count on it. So if it's an accounting course, say, one of our online accounting professors, Dawn Miller, she's probably got a lecture that she's recorded. It always comes out Monday at noon. Regular, it's the lecture. Here it is. Here's the thing that I'm showing you. Substantive also means that that's important. She's not just saying like, here's how to open the accounting book. She's giving you something. And then you respond in the discussions. And then at the end of the week, you're going to grade it. And you're not just going to go 20. You're going to say, here's why it's 20. We do fillable rubrics, like the rubric is already built, and you click it, and then inside there, it might be 5 points here, 3 points here, and it may be like 5 lines on the rubric. And then inside that, there's already pre-written comments that the faculty has done, but then they can go in and type more. One thing I do as part of my regular and substantive interactions, because I do English and humanities, I do videos.
Right.
And so they'll see their paper, they'll hear my voice, and they'll see my cursor. And I'll say, oh, Gina, this was really great. I really like this image. Or this paragraph is really strong, but maybe it belongs further down organizationally. Or I'm going to read, one thing I like to do is I'm going to read this aloud to you. And then, because, we're all our own worst editors. We're both English teachers. But you're like, oh, I can't believe I said they and I meant then. Because your brain tricks yourself. So I read it aloud to them. And those kinds of things are really helpful. So that's regular substantive interaction. So it's our mission. We would do it anyway if the federal government didn't have us. But one of my favorite things I ever got was our student reviews, our evaluations are anonymous. But I had an on-campus student take a class, and her I don't know why, they would think that class had all but one student who was female, so I would assume it was a her, said, I've never communicated more with any professors than I have in this class. And this is my first and only online class.
That's wonderful.
So that is so amazing to see that. And we have a lot of student athletes. So those robust online courses are really good for them because, if they're missing every Tuesday because they've got to travel, now they're not missing.
Right.
There's nothing professors love to hear more as a student knock on your office door and say, hey, I missed class. Did I miss anything? Oh, no. Of course you missed something. There was now you didn't.
Right.
That's the coolest thing is they have this ability to not miss anything and still be engaged at 3 in the morning or 3 in the afternoon, whatever fits their schedule.
That's excellent. And so I can enroll in classes. They're 7 weeks in length primarily.
Yeah.
How can I get started this summer?
Oh, sure. Well, we have a ton of summer courses, so registration's open now. We have a lot of intro-level courses. So if you're brand new and you're starting and you're a new student and you're like, oh, I've got all these credits, you can reach out to one of our enrollment advisors. They'll immediately evaluate your transcripts. They'll talk to you. You can get the portfolio filled out to find out what work experiences we can give you. And we can start enrolling you right away. I mean, if you've already got some credits, we can just start enrolling you. We have composition, intro to comp courses. We've got advanced. We've got creative writing this summer for if you need a visual and performing arts requirement. We have that. We have upper level psych, lower level psych. We're offering 75 online courses this summer.
That's wonderful.
We are offering the humanities, social science. We have an online biology lab this summer. So if you're like, hey, online, I can't take science, you are wrong. We can do that. We've got statistics. I mean, seriously, all the corners, all the quadrants are covered, and it's great. So you can start right now. The first class will begin May 5th, and then we'll do again June 30th. So that's the cool thing about 7-week courses. They start and they start and they start. And if you, depending on what your schedule is, one at a time, every 7 weeks. If you've got a little more time on your hands, you can do 2 at a time. And in that 6 credits in 7 weeks, it's intense, but it can be done, and we are ready right now. We have a lot of courses too that don't even have prerequisites that you could get started in. So we could even get you enrolled while we're evaluating your transcripts and your portfolio, because you're going to need 30 credits from us to graduate. So let's get you in the door, and we can then maybe apply that work experience credit in week 3, if it takes a little bit of time because your portfolio is so big because you have this amazing life experience.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Tony, and thank you for coming in. And I'm so excited for others to learn more about SHU Global and enroll.
Yeah, enroll now.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Provost Podcast. Be sure to join us next time as we continue to celebrate the accomplishments and the stories of Siena Heights University. Until then, stay competent, purposeful, and ethical saints.